Good afternoon. I'd like to call to order the Planning Commission meeting for Wednesday, April 26th. And would you please note attendance?
Attendance noted.
Before we move to approve the minutes, I would like to introduce our newest commissioner, Tamara Fields, and ask her if she would just give us a very brief introduction of herself.
Hello, I'm Tamara, and I am the operations manager with the Champlin team at the RE/MAX Parrott.
Thank you very much. Now, if the minutes that we have got in separate from the packet are revised minutes where some errors were corrected, so these are the minutes I'll call for the approval of, please.
So moved.
Support.
Moved and supported. Is there any discussion of the motion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Thank you. The motion is passed. Correspondence?
No correspondence.
Thank you. Additions or deletions to the agenda?
Yes, the addition of the election of officers will be added to old business on the agenda.
Thank you. Next, we have public hearings. We have two today. I will call the first for the reading of the first special use permit request.
Real quick before that, I would just like to bring to everyone's attention, I've checked with the council as well on this. I have worked with the owner on these projects in the past. Council felt there was not a direct conflict on the use of this because we did architectural drawings for the interior layout, but not the use per se. But I wanted to see if anyone had any issues or questions, concerns with me either voting on this or discussion on this.
I don't have any issues at all.
I think we're good.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Special use permit 0423, petition from Dr. Tino Smith of Kingdom Builders Worldwide requesting a special land use permit to allow for a religious institution property located at 50 Spencer Street. Property is zoned R1B, Single Family Residential District, pursuant to Section 1240.07C, 1251.40, and 1281.05 of the City of Battle Creek Zoning Code.
Thank you. Susan, I believe that you're handling this. Would you give us an overview, please?
Yes, thank you. You have the cover sheet and report, staff report in front of you. So at this point, I'm only going to emphasize a couple of items and make a couple more recommendations for conditions for the religious institution use. And there are a few new pieces of information from Dr. Bishop Smith as well on these, both of these petitions. This particular petition is for the use of religious institution for the first floor only to move forward with the Kingdom Builder projects so that they may obtain another temporary certificate of occupancy which expired in April of 2020. So that they can work toward getting another temporary C of O, which they are on their way to do, but this is one of the steps to move forward to do that. This petition is for the use of religious institution only and accessory uses related to religious institutions, not for standalone restaurant or a concert hall, driving school, trucking company, etc. Some of these can be approved in the future, possibly, if they meet code and gain special use approval, but they are not subject, part of the subject of this petition. Staff did do some research just to make sure there weren't some other petitions in the past. Of course, childcare was submitted in December. That's now being brought forward as well at this meeting. For a religious institution, I want to suggest adding two conditions. revising the application to list the property owner as Kingdom Builders International, and then where Dr. Bishop Smith and Nicole Smith have put their names on the application to list the officer positions next to them for their corporation. That would complete the application. As regard to, I know that staff mentioned the kitchen in the staff report because of the feeding homeless listed on the application. We did look at the kitchen as an accessory use approval for the religious institution. This would help bring it up to code. But then the applicant has also said that they want this petition just to apply to the auditorium. Staff, however, would support the accessory use if things change during this meeting of the kitchen for a religious institution. Under the standards for approval on the application, the applicant has indicated a couple of things that he may want to address, which he has a copy of, because I think there are a couple of typos on there, because this obviously would be a substantial improvement to the neighborhood. Some new information regarding the religious institution use, because the zoning ordinance requires some of this. Dr. Smith, in a 4/20/23 email, said there's not going to be any bells, chimes, etc., so we don't have to address that. The parking will be in the front of the building. And that's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is the petitioner or a representative here that would like to talk with the commission? Please come forward. If you would introduce yourself and tell us your address and how you're related to this special use request.
I'm Bishop Tino Smith. I am the founder and the CEO of Kingdom Builders Worldwide. I have no issues. I just have one question that I think I stated in your letter, and I don't want this to take me off track. I still can't comprehend permission to have church services. And I've done my due diligence, and I went to other pastors. I'm now pro Battle Creek, so I'll keep this quiet. All the other stuff that Mr. Newman and I do, that's good. I understand that. Follow the rules, follow the rules. But do I have bells? Do I have chimes? How loud will the service be? Those are not appropriate questions. And I just shared that in my letter. The business part, I'll follow all the rules. But how I have my Sunday morning service, that is a constitutional inaccuracy. And I have data to prove it. So I basically answered that question kind of purposely. Bells are in Catholic Church. But I wonder, are the Catholics asked that same question? So I'm a little confused about having permission to have a church service and to have a permit to host church service. That was my only issue. Daycare, I follow all the rules, policies, I do whatever I have to do. It was the church issue that kind of had me a little confused. And I will continue to be confused when a board like this cannot question what you do in your church services. That's not constitutional. That's all.
Thank you. Let's bring this to a special review. Are there any questions from the board?
Let's see, I would move to approve special use permit S04-23 with the conditions as outlined by staff in the report and the two additional that were raised by the report just now.
Second.
We have a motion that's been approved, seconded. Is there any discussion? Mayor Banky.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Godfrey. I just want to thank Bishop Smith for bringing his worship to Battle Creek and to 50 Spencer Street. We appreciate everything you're doing, and God bless you, and I hope you grow and expand and flourish even further. Thank you.
Anything further?
I'd also like to thank you for all the hard work you're putting in this community and for everybody here, and I know you got your hands full out there, and I admire you for all that. God bless you.
Yes, ma'am.
I echo everything that's been said. I don't know how many of you there are out there because there's a whole lot going on at Kingdom Builder Worldwide, and I appreciate everything that you and your congregation are doing to uplift, especially that area, but the community as a whole. So thank you.
Anyone else? Seeing none, would you please take the roll?
Commissioner Morse?
Yes.
Commissioner Gray?
Yes.
Commissioner Godfrey?
Yes.
Mayor Banky?
Yes.
Commissioner Springer?
Yes.
Commissioner Hughes?
Yes.
Commissioner Newman?
Yes.
Commissioner O'Donnell?
Yes.
And Commissioner Fields?
Yes.
Well, that's it. It's a slam dunk, so that's good. Thank you. We can now move on to special use permit B, S05-23.
Special use permit 0523, permit petition from Dr. Tino Smith of Kingdom Builders Worldwide, requesting a special land use permit to allow for a child care center for the property located at 50 Spencer Street. Property is zoned R1B, Single Family Residential District, pursuant to Section 1240-07C, 1280-105 of the City of Battle Creek zoning code.
Thank you. And Susan, I believe you have this one also.
Yes, thank you. And again, I'm just going to add a few pieces of new information and emphasize a couple of items. This petition is for the use of child care for the first floor only. Again, to help move forward toward a temporary C of O. And Dr. Bishop Smith did respond with some more information for the child care center. Yes, there will be outdoor play areas, the back of the daycare. And yes, cars parked in the back. And there will be a drop-off at the front of the building near Margaret Street. Thank you.
And would you please like to come forward and address this request?
Yes. So we were already certified by the state. The state already had us put the fence up, and we were actually even awarded that, I think, $10,000 startup grant. We just had to get the piece of paper from the city of Battle Creek. So we've done everything that was requested in the application packet, and now we're just waiting for this body to move forward so the state can come in and give us the stamp of approval.
Thank you. Are there any questions of Dr. Smith? I have a question, sir. How many children are you anticipating?
The licenses are for, they do 25 to 40, I believe the number is.
25 to 40.
Yeah.
And
It was already a state program, whatever the state program was. They came through and they did everything that was required. The last piece of the box is from the city to give the zoning part.
will you anticipate that you will be with somewhere within that margin?
Oh, yes, yes, yes. We'll be, I mean, that is a needed business. So what's happened is they're looking for daycares all over. So we'll be at max, and then we have to eventually expand.
In your hours?
Our hours, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m.
And you pick up and drop off is non-congested and
Have you been to Kingdom Builders?
I have not,
Okay,
sir.
it's a school.
Yes. I know.
So the exact school that the kids were dropped off 30
Okay.
years ago,
All right.
Margaret Street, there's an entry. There's an entry off Spring, but it's been blocked off, Spencer. But there's an entry there, and then there's an entry coming from the back. So the traditional entry of southeastern used to be Sprinkle. I keep saying Sprinkle. Spencer. And then Margaret is where the big flag post is. That's the entry. And then you come through the back where the tennis court is. Those are all public entries of when it was a school. Nothing changed, same
Okay.
entry of the school itself. And there's an alarm and the camera, and the lady on the inside can see who comes in, buzz you in, all the above.
Great. Good. Are there any other further questions? Thank you very much. Oops, I'm sorry.
Don't have a question, but totally agree with you. Daycare is sorely needed, childcare is sorely needed, so appreciate you bringing this again to the community. And wish we had more like you so that we could, try and take care of the need that's out there and the demand. So thanks for meeting that.
And it was mentioned, we are working on the actual permit. Mr. Newman is taking care of that. So every time we, according to the city manager, the assistant city manager, every time we decide to expand, we will be able to have that permit. And so Mr. Newman is in charge of that. We're just waiting to get the funds, and we'll get that permit done. So the whole building will be able to be utilized for all the different activities.
Great. Thank you.
Yep.
Are there any other questions from the commissioners? Commissioner Banky.
Thank you, Commissioner Godfrey. Dr. Smith, did your application show 20 to 25 students or 20 to 45?
My application, I'm just going by the state said, I don't know what I put in the application. Was it 25?
I think it was 20 to 25, and I just want to make sure because,
We're only going to do 20 to 25. My wife runs a daycare. She's
Okay.
certified in it. So that was
Problem.
her number. I'm a guy with vision, so I probably said
over the application.
So whatever the application says is the number we're only going to go by. She's strictly by the book. So if it says 25, I promise you 25 will be.
Other questions? Seeing none, would you please take the roll, the vote?
We gotta have a motion.
We have to have.
Oh, I'm
So
sorry.
I
Yes.
make- so I
Thank
make the
you.
motion.
I'm rusty. I wasn't here last month.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Support.
Motion has been made and supported. Is there any discussion on the motion
With the conditions, is that correct?
with the conditions?
Yes, with the conditions. I'm daydreaming now. I'll get somebody down here.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Oh, yes, I'd like to also thank you. I've understand that, I know the neighborhood quite well, and childcare is definitely needed there. And thank you for the improvements and the time of taking care of that, you and your wife.
Now we'll move to the vote.
Commissioner O'Donnell,
Yes.
Commissioner Hughes,
Yes.
Commissioner Godfrey,
Yes.
Commissioner Morris,
Yes.
Commissioner Springer,
Yes.
Commissioner Newman,
Yes.
Commissioner Gray,
Yes.
Mayor Banky,
Yes.
Commissioner Fields.
Yes.
Well, that's another slam dunk, so it's unanimous. Excellent. Very good. Thank you. Old business?
Election of officers.
Yes. It looks like from the minutes of the last meeting that the election of officers was put forward to this meeting. And before we call for election of officers, I want to say that I will not accept the chair again. Now I will take nominations for election of officers. Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to nominate myself
Okay,
for chair.
for chair.
Support for that? I would like to offer support for that, I guess.
What did you say?
Huh? I don't know. Can you repeat that?
I was just saying I support that,
Oh,
that nomination.
She's a nominated chair, yes.
Is there any other nomination?
I would like to close the nominations.
Okay, let's have a roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Newman,
Yes.
Commissioner Gray,
Yes.
Commissioner Godfrey,
Yes.
Commissioner Hughes,
Yes.
Commissioner Morris,
Yes.
Commissioner O'Donnell,
Yes.
Commissioner Fields,
Yes.
Commissioner Springer, Mayor Banky.
Yes.
There it is. Well, we're really good on this slam dunk. Actually, that would mean that you could take the rest of the meeting.
Do we need a vice chair?
You need a vice chair.
Yeah,
I would like to nominate myself for vice chair.
that's great.
I
Support?
support.
Okay.
Move that a unanimous ballot be cast for Cody Newman as our vice chair.
Support.
Let's do it this way. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, the same? Very good. We need a,
You can go ahead and finish. It's fine.
we need a,
Oh, yeah, no, I don't think.
do we need any other position?
No, it's just chair and vice chair.
So the new chair would be Commissioner Gray, and the vice chair would be Commissioner Newman. Thank you very, very much for coming forth to take those positions.
And thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
And is there any new business?
No new business.
We have the annual review of the annual report, if I wanted to take
That
just
was
a
the
few
next
minutes
one.
to highlight that. So in your packet was the 2022 annual report. And so I just wanted to highlight, again, as a reminder, under the Public Act, we are required to do an annual report that the Planning Commission receives in addition to the City Commission, and so that is the report that's before you today. And it highlights sort of what we all did in 2022, both as staff and as official bodies, both boards and commissions. And so I'd like to start with certainly the work of the Planning Commission. At the end of 2022, we did have a vacancy that we have just filled with the start of today's meeting. So the Planning Commission currently has all seats filled, which is a wonderful thing. And if you look at the amount of items that came before this body, it was quite impressive this last year. You guys did a lot of work. There were 23 applications that you all took action on in 2022. What we saw is some increase in the area of zoning reclassifications, but even more so in special use permit requests. We attribute this to certainly the number of increased applications that we've received for both medical and adult use marijuana. And also we have seen what I'll call it a boom in regards to childcare facilities. We've had a handful of those both in 22 and certainly a carryover into 23, which is very encouraging and needed, as you all have mentioned today in the meeting. So those have been some reasons for increases this last year for those types of petitions. I would like to also add that in addition to the body of Planning Commission and the applications reviewed and decisions made of this body, that we also partnered with City Commission to review the capital improvement plan and recommended adoption of that to the City Commission. This, as a reminder, reflects the city's most pressing needs in regards to projects and investment. That plan does carry over to the 27-28 year period of time. The Zoning Board of Appeals, as a reminder of this body, reviews and considers all petitions of appeals for variances. There was a slight decrease of this last year, but what I think is important to note is the number of approved variances. So last year we had 3 variance requests that were approved and 7 that were denied. However, in 2022 we had 5 approved and only 1 denied. So what that tells me as we review these applications is that the interest of the community to expand uses and to ask for variances, special requests, that those are certainly reasonable and that there's reason to be able to support those particular items. As we look at the Historic District Commission, this body's responsibility is to review applications and plans for construction, alteration, repair, and moving or demolition of historic properties within the 5 local districts that we have. That body did have one vacancy at the end of '22. That body is also completely filled in regards to the seats that it has. For 2022, we received a number of applications for both before the body of HDC, there were 17, but also an increase in projects that were able to be reviewed by staff, and that approval allowable under minor class of work. What those are instances of are smaller projects where staff is able to review, and due to the less amount of impact that there would be on the exterior of that property, it allows staff to be able to do that without coming before the body. So we had an increase in those types of requests that we were able to handle internally. The benefit of being able to do that is that it expedites these projects because they don't have to be scheduled to come before the body in the lag of time. So that's always encouraging to be able to act on things a little bit swifter in that way. With the work of each of the bodies, we also have additional work that happens within the division. We continue to work on our redevelopment ready community certification. We are 2026 is when our review of our certification comes again. There are 5 key categories of best practice that we are evaluated on. They include plans and engagement, zoning, development review, boards and commissions, and economic development and marketing. And within those 5 categories, there are 35 objectives and goals that we must meet and strive for as a community to be considered redevelopment ready and certified. With regard to zoning ordinance amendment, this body reviewed last month and approved the support of zoning amendments to come before City Commission for introduction and adoption. We're really encouraged about the updates to the ordinance, and we feel that it will further advance possibilities of development moving forward in the community. So we look to have that come before City Commission on the 2nd, seeking adoption of those changes. Site plan review is another area of work that happens within the planning division. There were 38 projects that are all outlined in the annual report that required site plan review and went through that site plan process. That is an exceptionally large number comparative to previous years, and I think that really speaks to the development that we are seeing in the community, which is very encouraging. We also, I'm not sure I understand. We also have a compliance regulatory piece of our work, and that involves zoning enforcement. There were 166 zoning complaints for 2022. Illegal use investigations, there were 16. These would be examples of situations where a current use of a property may not be permitted, and staff needs to do historical research to make determinations as to what previous uses were to determine if there is an allowability of that particular use. So this review looks at historical maps and ordinances that date back to the 1920s, which is when the city of Battle Creek first adopted a zoning ordinance. Other miscellaneous enforcements include items such as parking, signs, and fences. There were 150 of those. There were over 1,000, which is a substantial number, 1,183 permits of demolition, building, signage, and fencing was reviewed in 2022. And lastly, we had 18 applications reviews for business licensing. These types of business licensing examples are liquor licenses, used car sales, secondhand facilities, and donation drop boxes. That licensing is handled through the city clerk's office, and the planning team does a review of those businesses to ensure that they're in compliance before licensing is renewed. So with that, I would just like to again thank this body for all of the work that it did in 2022, and certainly, John, thank you for serving as chair of this body.
Thank you for your report. Is there any question from any commissioners of Ms. Reynolds? Thank you very much.
I have one.
Yes, ma'am.
Not a question, but just a thank you. And please make sure it gets into the 2023 report. You all came out and, kind of gave an overview for the Washington Heights Neighborhood Advisory Committee. And I just really appreciate kind of breaking down what the Historic District Commission does and how it figures into the neighborhood and the work that we're doing. And I think more of those educational opportunities would be helpful for the neighbors who are on the ground and don't really understand, the process, and especially around historic properties. And so I think that was really helpful. And thank you very much to the staff who came out and did that.
You're welcome. We're pretty excited. At the May meeting, Historic District Commission is going to be reviewing materials and documentation and an entire program that we've put together for education and awareness regarding Historic District that we plan to launch this summer to each of the districts to increase that awareness.
Thank you. That'd be great.
Thank you. Comments from the public?
Yes.
Yes, sir, please. Again, come to the microphone, sir.
Tino Smith, will this come on the 2nd, the 9th, or the 16th to the city? 16th. So, see, man, well, okay, that's cool. The reason why is because we took so long, I have until the 25th to get my stuff sent to the state. They need a letter saying that y'all approve my zoning. So on the 16th, if for whatever reason the cities do not accept your recommendation, this process start all over again?
If the city commission didn't accept your recommendation of this body,
If the city says no, if the commissioner says no,
then I think you have, I don't know if it's 6 months or a year before you can apply again.
okay.
You're not, I mean, you always have recourse, but
So-
it would be past that date.
Is there a, is it Ted? Well, let me ask the lawyer. Is there a policy where we can move it before the 16th? Can it go on the 9th? Or it has to be 3 weeks?
It's a matter of the time frame of the publication and being able to prepare the resolution. So the deadline for the packets for our city commission to go out is tomorrow morning. And so staff needs to be able to prepare today's outcome for that resolution, which is why it would be the second meeting. We don't have time to be able to get it on Tuesday's agenda. It's too close.
You mean third meeting? She said the 16th.
It's not, there's only 2 meetings of city commission each month.
Oh, okay, I thought it was
They
every
meet-
Tuesday.
They meet on the 1st and the
Okay.
3rd Tuesday of every month. So we would be doing it at the earliest meeting possible, which would
Okay.
be the 16th.
I'm sorry. All this time, I thought y'all met every Tuesday. That's how much I know. Sorry about that. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank
But
you.
usually they accept y'all recommendations, right?
Right.
Is that right, Mayor?
Comments by the staff and commission members. Staff, any comments? Susan?
I don't have any comments.
No comments, thank you.
Nothing there. Commissioners? Nothing there? Then we are adjourned.